You did have an article come out just a couple of hours ago addressing the UCONN side of things. They've been, there's one school that they've completely fallen off the map, and that's Gonzaga. Like, I don't know what happened there, Max, but it's like they just disappeared from discussions. But UConn's been out there, and that was kind of around the time Gonzaga, like, hey, basketball, coast to coast, all that. And then there was, that UConn would probably be, a full-on member. And I think it's fair to say there's a bit of a mixed reaction in Big 12 country, maybe to the point of like, yeah, you probably wouldn't get the majority vote, but it seems that this is part of Brett Yormark's vision. And what can you tell us about just UConn, the potential pursuit there, and, how does that fit into this grand old puzzle?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I think it'd be very interesting to see, like, what is the reaction if the Big 12, were to go in that direction. If Colorado is the only Pac-12 school that's coming over, then I could certainly see Brett Yormark going all in on trying to add UConn. And when I say trying to add, I mean trying to convince, Big 12 presidents, chancellors, and ADs that is the move they need to make. I think from everyone I've talked to, the sense I get is that Brett Yormark's really high on UConn and their potential, and really believes that if you bring them into the Big 12 and invest in them, it's not just the immediate impact of men's and women's basketball, but certainly I think he believes that UConn and the Big 12 can become, a value add for the conference. And part of that is just he comes from a different background, right? I mean, when he took this job, it's more of an East Coast background. I think it's important to him to plant a flag in New York. Obviously, you saw that a week ago with the event at Rucker Park. Like, I think he sees real, like, kind of buy low potential in some ways with UConn. It's just a challenge. In every conversation I've had with ADs, like, you get the sense they're just sort of like, don't really know if I see that. And so I think that will be an interesting, if it gets to that, if truly UConn is what Brett Yormark views as his best option moving forward to get this thing to 14, I'll be very curious to see, can he sell that, and get the votes he needs, to get them into the conference, or do you go in a different direction?
I would think, Max, if he did that today, he wouldn't have the votes. But the good news for him and UConn is that it's not like there's a bidding war out there for him.
Yeah. And look, I think one of the challenges there is, if you're adding Pac-12 schools, Big 12 pro rata can get $31 million for those Pac-12 schools. They can't get it for UConn. I really don't think that's the case. Don't think that they'd be able to become a full share member from a revenue standpoint until you do the next TV deal in 2031. So, obviously, like, there's a little bit of there's some difficulties there, and then they have an exit fee as well from their conference. But look, I think from the UConn side too, even if they can only get, $20 million in TV money as a member of the Big 12 in the near future, like, that's a lot more than $3.8 million that they're getting from Fox right now. So, like, I certainly can understand the skepticism even on the UConn side of, like, does that really make sense for us? But ultimately money drives a lot of these decisions.
So Max, apparently